Jonathan, tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do, please.
Well, my name is Jonathan Ñañez, originally from the city of Freire, and I was initially trained as an English language teacher, so I've been working in the field of ELT for about 10 years now. However, let's say mid-career, I became interested in psychological processes and cognition, how the brain works, so I went on to pursuing a second undergraduate degree. So I'm also a psychologist with interests in cognition and neuroscience, and I think it was 2 years, or it's in 2 years already, that I had a chance to go and study a master's degree in the UK at University College London, and I completed a master's degree in educational neuroscience. So basically what I do right now is that let's say 50% of my time it's devoted to teaching English and researching at UTP, and the remainder 50% of my time is basically devoted to psychological processes and projects, and also research, and an active researcher. And that's what I do, how we can integrate what we know from neuroscience into teaching, and how technology can help us achieve those aims. Yeah.
Sounds pretty good, Jonathan. And how long have you been on lockdown?
It's almost a month now. I'd say it's on the 14th of March. Yeah, 14th.
Yeah, coming up on a month here pretty soon.
Yeah.
I'm on week 5
And
myself.
what I mean, I know Julian's been actually longer because he had a surgical procedure and he was put away for a few weeks prior. I myself, since the 14th as well, 14th, 15th, I think was a Sunday. That Monday I worked a few hours in the morning, and then the rest of the day I went home. And Jonathan, what do you feel has been the your biggest obstacle? I mean, I know you're a professional, having the background that you have, doing the work that you do. Now that you're basically locked up, what's the biggest obstacle?
So one of the major findings that the literature has already come up with, it's the notion of routines, and specifically micro routines. So basically we're creatures of habit, and in terms of psychological functioning, we should really strive for following the patterns that we're used to following during normal time. So let's say that if you go to sleep at a certain time, and you take a shower at a certain time, and you have lunch at a certain time, although there's a lot of difficulty in achieving some of these tasks, you should aim at being able to complete as many of them as possible. So the fact that you're not able to follow routines or micro routines, it's one of the biggest obstacles that people have for well-being and psychological functioning.
Yeah,
Jonathan, a question.
maintaining a routine is very difficult. Dale, Alvarito.
Yeah, that that I was gonna ask you the same stuff. That I mean, since it's like really difficult for the people to like obtain like a routine method, what are like the maybe key steps for a person who's not able to like have in mind like those kind of routines? How would you approach that kind of person that has never like gone into that's essence, for example?
One of the first steps, as much as possible, although I know there are related difficulties as well, should be respecting bedtime. So if going to bed at the same time every day, making a big effort to wake up at the same time every day, and distribution of meals as much as it's possible, so that if you were used to having breakfast at a given time and then you were having lunch or dinner, you should also aim at completing the same task at the very same time. Also, the fact that you get up and you take a shower, and let's say you don't just work in pajamas during the whole day, or so. I know we're at home and many things have changed, but what the literature suggests so far is that you should simulate an environment of normality as much as possible.
Do you do that, Andres?
Okay.
Well, I was just going to ask Jonathan and you guys the same thing because, to be honest with you, I'm getting to bed around 1, 2, sometimes 3 in the morning.
There's a lot of people going to bed like around 5 a.m. I don't, because I have to work, but most of my friends like all day like have like the schedules are out of control.
Really?
I find myself also sleeping at noon and sleeping till 2 or 3 in the afternoon, getting up doing work, and then not going to bed till 2 or 3 in the morning. So my whole work or sleep schedule has been thrown off, and that kind of interferes in my meals because I'm not having breakfast like I used to. I used to get up early. I mean, I'm up at 5 a.m. every day, and since I've been going to sleep so late, I'm getting up 8:30, 9 o'clock. So I'm not having breakfast till 9:30 or 10. But I guess, like Jonathan says, we are creatures of habit.
Yeah.
We get into a daily rut, and before we know it, a year goes by, and we're like, wow. So are we going to become used to this lifestyle? What do you guys think? Are we going to, want to stay indoors forever now?
Well, I wanted to ask you also about that, guys. Like, let's look at this like a utopian view and a dystopian view, right? Like, I look at things like we're gonna get used to the new normal, and we don't know what that is, but right now, as we speak, millions of
Not going to be the same.
exactly, and right
It's
now,
not gonna be.
as we speak, millions of people are working on it, and we are creating that new normal, whatever that might be. And as soon as we have that new normal, we're just gonna start working on it and making it better, and optimizing that whatever new system is. But I think I'm very, very concerned about the gap between the ones that do have access to technology, the ones that do have access to social media and being connected with the world, and those who do not. That's like the worst thing. And the best is that for those that are connected and for those that are willing to, the opportunities are going to be endless.
It seems like the society is going to split like in kind of like two groups. Like there's going to be like an immune group that it's having like that is not going to be so effective because the use of technology, maybe because they're kind of like healthy and they haven't get the viruses. And the other group that it could be like the people who seek, and I don't know. The question is how those people are going to find like this drive energy to maintain the calm. Even though we know as a society, we can mold our brain and construct our habits, and maybe we can spend like 6 months doing lines from 1 meter, going to the movie theater and knowing that there's going to be one chair empty and all of that. I don't know if the society is going to be able to, after a long period of time, go again to those basics as we used to. Maybe, I don't know. They continue.
That's a question for Jonathan.
Well, so there's already ongoing research that's being conducted in the Chinese province. What's the name again?
Wuhan.
And apparently, what they found is that as many as 80 to 90% of people who've gone through that situation and who've struggled so much, although they come back to kind of normality, 80 to 90% of those people could be affected by psychological trauma. So this is something that it's life-changing, that obviously the world has changed, and the economic, social, and psychological consequences are just we're just beginning the whole story. This is just the tip of the iceberg.
Damn.
I mean, I don't know how our situation could compare to other countries, because I rely basically on the news, from what we see every day on the news. And I see at other countries, for example, our neighbor Ecuador, that I saw an alarming news a few days ago. People that were just leaving the dead on the street. I mean, loading them off the car, throwing them on the street, and then continuing there. And the people that were recording videos saying, "Hey, don't leave them there. Take them with you. Take them with you." And they're just like, I mean, I don't know if there's any truth to that, but I think if there is any truth, their situation is way more, unstable than what we are living.
I mean, sadly, if you look at it from a public policy perspective, this comes down to a social divide issue. And although there are many, it's a multivariate problem. It's true that at the very core, the core matter has to do with privileged and underprivileged populations, and mostly about vulnerable populations, because as you had pointed out before, it's not going to have such a huge impact on you if your privilege and your social position and mobility allows you to continue your life up to, let's say, a certain extent in normal terms. So if you still have access to education and and work online, you can still buy your groceries and there's no issue. It's a much more different picture than if you, first of all, don't have access to internet, or you don't have a computer at home, you're unemployed, or you've just recently lost your job. So ultimately, I do think that it's basically a social divide, a social gap issue that now it's more evident than ever before, but it used to be like this. It's just that we were, I don't know, naive about it, or we were not doing enough, but it just demonstrates how bad the social gap is.
Yeah.
Very bad.
You guys haven't you guys thought about maybe, for example, when I used to live in the south and Valencia, and when I first got here to Bogota, that I was living on like basically working on the street, that playing music on the street. Um, I found out that the community supports each other like really well between them. Thing that you don't see here in the north. Like it's a different situation. Here we're more like individualistic, But over there, I think that since I used to work every day just to go and eat, I remember going to the store of Don Pedro and give this kind of like credit for a month and tell him, let's spend $50 on beans and maybe milk and some rice. Maybe this spectrum of society is going to create like a different mechanism that is beneath the real mechanism that is working for the regular people, who's like the more advantaged people. But these people maybe are gonna support each other, since, for example, I'm telling you guys, if I couldn't work for 2 days, I didn't have anything to eat, and I have to go out like al rebusque, like basically al rebusque. And when you find yourself like in a lot of trouble, you used to go to la tienda y fiar. But maybe since now it's not gonna be so easy to like pay, it's gonna be so extent. Maybe the mechanism that they're gonna use is gonna be like a new kind of like little economy that they're gonna be working between the little, tiendas, basically, just especially to help the people, because here we're saying in Bogota, let's put the red flag outside if you have home, if you need food, but there's like a lot of people that are
a lot of red flags.
Yeah, they never thought it's gonna be that much, and besides that, the government steals like more than 80,000 million of pesos. So it's like maybe these people, we're gonna be so pushed to create different mechanisms like el trueque, or going back to different stuff, if we're gonna continue like this, because I don't know how that people is gonna do for real.
I think technologically we have to come out of this and advance. I mean, we have to. We're inside a cocoon right now, and we are in this moment. We are turning into what we are going to be in the future. Because I mean, we're gonna change. The world's gonna change. The situations are gonna change. The circumstances are gonna change. Everything's already changing, and people. I mean, you're either gonna get eaten alive, or you're gonna be the one eaten. So we have to advance technologically, I think. I mean, everything that's happening now, not only technologically, as far as medical is concerned. I mean, we were thrown a very big lesson right in our face. Basically, we are not prepared for this pandemic. Yeah. What we'd have to do is retreat every time and lock ourselves up. And I mean, basically, I'm not sure that's the solution.
I do have a comment here, going back to, let's say, the dystopian Orwellian version. And it's the fact that although artificial intelligence and deep learning is going to play a major role on how we make sure the transparency is actually taking place at the government level, we should also be very careful to pay attention to individual freedoms, or the notion of how independent you are as a citizen in the world. Because while it's true that it could have a huge impact on, let's say, policy, the social and healthcare system, it could also be used for quite different purposes, in which the individual liberties that we've been struggling for decades, or I would say even centuries, could be lost quite rapidly, and it's also a major concern that we should bear in mind.
Bring us to the conspiracy theories.
Well, not necessarily from a conspiracy theory
Exactly.
standpoint, but let's say the way it could become more dictatorship-like, or the way in which things could be restricted doesn't really have to be much of a conspiracy, because it's already taking place in some other
Totally
countries
normal. Yes.
around the
I mean,
globe.
more of a police state.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're gonna let you go, Jonathan. But before that, Andres, give us your positive outlook for things to come, man. And same thing with you, Alvaro.
Well, like I said before, I'm in a cocoon right now. My personal aspect and the way I see things, I'm in a cocoon, and I have to reinvent myself. Why? Because I'm an entrepreneur. I'm self-employed. I have a business that basically has been stopped 100% for almost a month here. On the 14th, in just a few days, it'll be a month. And I know it'll start back up once I get out, but I need to reinvent myself. I need to reinvent my business, and try to see where my focus is going to be next. I need to make those changes in order for my business to thrive and for me not to lose my head.
Yeah.
I'm taking advantage of the time off, basically, and I started a new course. I'm studying online. I'm listening to music. I mean, Alvarito, I'm sure you can relate. I discovered 8D tracks, so you're aware of that, right? The 8D tracks, where the music basically goes around your head, and it's pretty crazy. So I kind of sit and relax and listen to my music, and that kind of disconnects me for a while. But right now, I'm really focusing on what I'm going to do when all of this is over. Reopening my business. I'm thinking of a advertising strategy to get people to let them know, okay, I'm open again. Come look for me. And with this other deal that I started, this other project that I'm studying, I'm hoping that might also take off, and that could be, I can take the two things parallel, and just see where that takes me. I gotta change. We gotta change. The world is changing. Things are gonna change. Once we come out of this cocoon, we need to be different. We can't come out the same way we came back in. We went in. We gotta come out different. That's my take.
But I know you're quite busy all the time, because you actually do have a job. And but has this pandemic changed in any way your outlook for the future in your personal life?
To be honest with you guys, there's two things, and I'm gonna be really quick. Most of the publicity is going back to radio. I mean, since you cannot go outside and do a lot of like footage and make commercials on video, most of the companies are giving us like the directions of going more radio. So I'm here like 24/7 working for them. But more than that, that I noticed that it was funny, because it's like we're going back to different dynamics of publicity. I think that the collective, the psychological collective, I don't know if it's well said, but of the society has to be involved in a new matter of having on mind new principles, new values about life, because Andres is saying is really the truth. I mean, it's not going to be the same. Of course, we're going to get over this and everything, but life is not going to be the same, and the society is not going to be the same. So since we have to adapt, I think that we must find a way just to be more conscious about some important aspects of life, which are more involved to the, human wealth, instead of like so much money and a lot of stuff. This is more like a spiritual way, but I think that this is going to wake up a lot of people about not spiritual and fanatism, but on being concerned about, hey, money is not that important. It's a really good tool, but there's some other stuff that we have to think about it. So
sort of an awakening, awareness of many.
A big slap in the face is what I think.
Lovely. All right, Jonathan, thank you so much. Please let us know what you think about what we were just talking about, and if there's anything else that you want to share with us before we let you go, please, by all means.
So yeah, I agree with what you've already said so far. It's definitely a paradigm shift. So business wise, education wise, the paradigm we were used to, it's definitely going to change, and we're going to need to reinvent ourselves. The world is not the same anymore, and of course, it presents a number of challenges and opportunities as well. So it's basically how are you going to adapt to it? How are you going to identify the need, your contextual needs, and what is it that you can offer that's part of, let's say, added value? How are you going to be able to adapt? So I recall this Bruce Lee's quote that you told me about. I think it was 10 years ago or something like that. You're gonna be like water, and you're gonna adopt the shape that of the basically where you're at, and you need to transform yourself. So many of the ideas, beliefs, values, just like Alvaro had already said, you're gonna need to sit down, conduct a deep reflection, and see how it's gonna change and how we're gonna adapt in the new model. So for instance, in education, you're gonna need to be able to determine and find out that online education is not about transforming your face-to-face session to, let's say, a platform. It's not going to work. It's not going to be the same. The way you used to teach, your beliefs, your classroom management techniques, it's going to change. So reinvent yourself. The world is not about those who have already learned, but those who are willing to relearn or forget and learn again.
Forget and learn again.